Hi guys, we're back with All Round Health Talk. As usual, I'm Dr. Celestina and with me here is
Dr. Onyinye.
Well, last week we talked about a very important topic, which is antibiotics and how abusing it can affect us negatively. Today we're going to be talking about an equally important topic, which we're really passionate about because first of all, we're women, and secondly because this disease has affected a lot of people all around the world. Well, this table is so big that we're actually going to be posting 3 episodes of it throughout this week. So you guys stay tuned because this is a must watch for everybody. Trust me, you're going to be shocked.
So do you want to know how many million new cases of breast cancer were diagnosed in this year 2018? Do you want to know how many women will die in this year 2018 from breast cancer? Well, if you really want to know, sit tight and watch the video.
Now, we have to know first, what is breast cancer? I feel like it's very important for us to know what breast cancer is, first of all. Well, breast cancer is a disease whereby the cells in our breast tissue start to grow out of control, forming a tumor or a lump that we can feel in the breast region.
Now, studies have shown that 2 million new cases of breast cancer were diagnosed in this year 2018 alone. 40,920 women will die from breast cancer in this year 2018 in the US alone. In the US alone, not all over the world, just
US
in the
alone.
US. Now, this value is opposed to the 40,610 women that died from breast cancer last year 2017 in the US alone. Now, as at 2016, 3.5 million women had a history of breast cancer. And when we talk about history, we are not talking about people who had family members with breast cancer. We are talking about women who actually had breast cancer and survived, and other women who were at that moment still living with breast cancer. These numbers are increasing on a yearly basis, and so this topic is absolutely important for all of us.
Okay, we're going to be talking about some risk factors of breast cancer, but I just want to make something clear, right? That you have a risk factor does not mean you're definitely going to get breast cancer. That's not what it means at all. What it means is that it just increases either slightly or greatly your risk of developing breast cancer. And even if you have an increased risk of getting breast cancer due to having one or multiple factors, does not mean that you're finally going to develop this breast cancer, because actually studies have shown that there are women who have lots of risk factors to developing breast cancer and they never develop it, but some women who actually have this breast cancer have no risk factor at all. So that's really shocking. So make no fear, please, when I say risk factor. If you have a no start to cry, I beg. That is just to tell you that you need to be more conscious of yourself, take care of yourself, and if you notice any foul play there, wrong, go meet your doctor. So the first risk factor we're going to be talking about is race. Now, generally, Caucasian women are the population of women who have the highest risk of developing breast cancer. But recent studies have shown that black women under 40 years of age now have even higher risk than these Caucasian women of developing breast cancer.
Okay, so which means that we have to be really careful as black women.
Yeah.
Okay, another risk factor of breast cancer is your age. Studies have shown that most of the cases of breast cancer were diagnosed in women above 50 years of age, but also recently women less than 50 years of age are beginning to have breast cancer. So even though your risk of having breast cancer increases with age, those of us who are less than 50 years, we also have a risk of having breast cancer.
Another factor is a benign breast disease. Now, what is benign? Benign is actually something that is not invasive. If you've had this benign breast disease before, it can actually increase your risk of developing breast cancer because over time, this benign disease can transform to the real deal, which is breast cancer.
Okay, another risk factor of breast cancer is your family history. So if you have a family history of breast cancer, especially your first degree family relative, maybe your mother or your sister, you also have a risk of having breast cancer.
The next risk factor is obesity. Obesity is a risk factor for breast cancer because it actually increases your exposure to estrogen, which is like the lady hormone that all women have, and there is association between this estrogen and the development of breast cancer. So that way there's also an association between obesity and breast cancer.
People who have personal history of breast cancer, okay, if you've had breast cancer in the past, you have a high risk of having a reoccurrence in the second breast, so you have to be careful.
Next is birth control pills. Like, I understand the fact that, well, birth control pills is for a purpose, right? You don't want to get pregnant and all that stuff, but it's also important for us to be aware of what birth control pills are. These pills are extra hormones that your body really does not need because of the association that these pills have with lots of other cancers, not just breast cancer, because it's like extra hormone that you're putting into your body, which can cause tissues like your breast tissue to start to grow out of control due to constant stimulation. So taking these birth control pills regularly increases your risk of developing breast cancer.
Another factor is not breastfeeding your child. Most women don't want to breastfeed their children, but it is recommended to breastfeed your child for 2 years or more, right? Because when you're breastfeeding your child, your menstrual cycle is interrupted temporarily, which means that there's no ovulation, which means that your estrogen levels are really low. And since estrogen levels have been associated with ovarian cancer and breast cancer, when you're lactating, your estrogen levels are low, which means that your chances when you breastfeed your baby of having breast cancer reduces.
Another factor is type 2 diabetes. There are a lot of things that happen to the human body when a person has type 2 diabetes, and these processes actually increase the risk of developing breast cancer in an individual.
Genetic mutation is another risk factor. Genetic mutation can occur as a result of different reasons. Your cells might begin to genetically change from the normal way they are. Okay? So when this happens, especially in the breast tissues, when the cells of your breast begin to change genetically, you have a high risk of having breast cancer.
Another risk factor is sedentary lifestyle. When you don't exercise, that's what sedentary lifestyle means. If you don't exercise, you never get to experience the benefits of exercise in your body, one of which is hormonal balance. So when there's an imbalance in your hormones, when one increases more than it should or more than the normal level, it can actually increase your risk of developing breast cancer.
Hormonal imbalance. Hormonal imbalance is when your hormone levels are higher than normal. And in this case, we are focusing on estrogen, which are the female hormones that all women have. When these hormones increase for any reason, be it taking pills or not breastfeeding your baby, whatever it is, as long as these hormones continue to increase higher than normal, you have a risk of having breast cancer.
Next is alcohol. Alcohol is a big risk factor for breast cancer. Those of us who use alcohol to brush teeth in the morning, here I'm now. Alcohol is a big risk factor for breast cancer because alcohol actually is associated with hormone positive breast cancer, which means it actively increases your risk of developing breast cancer because of the accumulation of fat that this substance produces in the human body.
Another risk factor is breast density. We talk about breast density when a person, a woman, has more connective tissues in her breast than she has fat tissues. So normally these fat tissues would protect you, but these connective tissues in excess will just increase your risk of having breast cancer. So if you have more connective tissues or you have increased breast density, then you stand a high risk of having breast cancer.
Another risk factor is smoking. Now we all know that the first disease that you could be exposed to by smoking is the lung cancer, but the second is breast cancer, because of the toxins that accumulate in your body due to smoking. It can affect your immune system, and our immune system is responsible for protecting us from things that are not supposed to happen. So when you smoke, you actually depress your immune system, thereby leaving you exposed or vulnerable to diseases like breast cancer. The last risk factor we're going to be talking about is radiation. Well, there are some procedures that actually require us to be exposed to this radiation. Now, if we are frequently exposed to it, this could actually increase our risk of developing breast cancer due to the effects that radiation has on our cells. It could actually cause mutation that she has explained. It could cause your cells to grow rapidly, more than normal, getting to a point of no control. And when your tissues get to this stage, it could actually become cancer, in this case breast cancer.
Today we just want you to focus on the risk factors of breast cancer, because there are so many risk factors and we all are exposed to this risk. And so for the first episode of this video on breast cancer, we want you all to please pay attention to these risk factors because they're important. They affect all of us. Some of them are preventable, some of them are not. Okay, and in our next video we'll be talking more on that, so that's why we have more episodes of this breast cancer video. So one thing we need you all to take home from this video is that as women, we are not safe. We are all exposed to breast cancer. Any of us can have breast cancer, so we're not safe, and it's our duty to take care of ourselves. Nobody can do it for us. We need to decide, we need to start taking care of ourselves. But do you want to know if men can also have breast cancer?
Drum roll.
Yes. So you need to tune in to watch our next video, which is the second episode of this video, to know the relationship between men and breast cancer.
Yeah. So as usual, guys, keep liking, keep commenting, keep sharing. Give us your questions. We're really waiting for them. We want to hear from you guys. And don't forget to check out our Instagram page, which is @allroundhealthtalk, where we'll be posting additional information about every video that we upload. So I hope you guys learned a lot from this video. See you guys until the next episode.
Next video.
Yeah, right. So bye.